E-rank hunter Jinwoo Sung was known as the weakest hunter in Korea, a title that carried a heavy weight in the world he inhabited. His days were filled with the dull ache of inadequacy, a constant reminder of his struggles and failures. While others boasted of their victories, tales of glorious conquests, treacherous monsters felled and treasures claimed, Jinwoo found himself languishing in the shadows, participating in raids not for honor or glory, but out of sheer necessity. The specter of his mother's hospital bills loomed over him like an endless storm cloud, dark and unyielding, casting a shadow over every aspect of his life. Each day, the burden of financial pressure pushed him to take on dangerous tasks, even if they were beyond his capability or expertise, driving him further into a cycle of desperation. The weight of his responsibilities was a constant companion, gnawing at him, reminding him of the stakes at play. One fateful day, an opportunity arose that seemed simple enough on the surface. A D-rank dungeon raid, organized by the Hunters Association. The air was thick with anticipation as he and his fellow hunters gathered, their collective energy a mix of excitement and trepidation. Jinwoo could feel the vibrant pulse of hope and anxiety coursing through the group, each hunter revealing their own aspirations and fears. Yet, for Jinwoo, the thrill of the impending adventure was overshadowed by a crushing anxiety. The thought of his mother's worsening condition, her frail form reduced to a shadow of her former self, fueled his determination like a fire igniting in the dark. The dungeon itself was said to be relatively safe, a mere stepping stone for more skilled hunters. But Jinwoo understood all too well that even D-rank dungeons could harbor hidden dangers that could turn a simple raid into a nightmare. As they approached the entrance, the sun cast long shadows across the ground, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken fears and the fragile hopes of those who dared to enter. However, during the raid, the party stumbled upon something unexpected, a hidden entrance that led to a double dungeon. This discovery sent a ripple of uncertainty through the group, a collective hesitation that crackled in the air like static electricity. Whispers filled the space as the hunters exchanged nervous glances, their minds racing with the possibilities of what lay ahead. Juhi, a B-rank healer and a voice of reason among them, voiced her reservations about entering. Her brows furrowed with concern, her usually confident demeanor faltering as she spoke. "We should be careful. We don't know what might be waiting for us inside." Her words hung in the air, laden with foreboding, the weight of her caution palpable. But the desperation in Jinwoo's heart overpowered any sense of caution, driving him onward. He voted to enter the double dungeon, compelled by the financial needs that drove him forward like a relentless tide, pushing him into the unknown. Once inside, they found themselves in a grand temple-like chamber, its walls adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to whisper secrets of ancient rituals lost to time. The cool, musty air was thick with the scent of damp earth, and the faint echo of their footsteps reverberated ominously around them, amplifying the growing sense of dread that clung to the group like a heavy fog. Giant statues towered above them, their stone faces frozen in expressions of eternal vigilance, watching with an unsettling intensity. As they ventured deeper, a runic inscription caught Jinwoo's eye. "Worship God, praise God, prove thy faith." The weight of those words pressed down on him, a stark reminder of the stakes at play. The atmosphere grew heavier, charged with an energy that sent shivers down his spine. Soon after they deciphered the commandments, the doors slammed shut behind them with a resounding finality that sent chills down their spines, the sound reverberating ominously in the vast chamber. Panic erupted as the statues came to life, their stone limbs moving with a terrifying speed that belied their weight. They attacked anyone who moved or disobeyed the commandments, their blows merciless and swift. The room became a cacophony of screams and the sickening sound of flesh meeting stone, as many hunters met gruesome fates in a matter of moments. Blood pooled on the cold stone floor, mingling with the dust, a grim testament to the horror unfolding before Jinwoo's wide, terrified eyes. The once grand chamber, filled with awe-inspiring artistry, transformed into a scene of chaos and carnage, where hope was quickly suffocated beneath the weight of despair. In the midst of this chaos, Jinwoo fought to maintain his composure, observing the situation with a clarity born of desperation. It was through a series of near-death experiences that he began to deduce the pattern of the giant statue's attacks. He realized that the statue only struck those who stood upright, its gaze piercing as it sought out any semblance of defiance. Urging his companions to bow, he shouted, "We need to honor the commandment. Bow down!" The words rushed forth from him, fueled by a primal instinct for survival, echoing in the chamber like a desperate prayer. They complied, their bodies hitting the ground in unison, and miraculously the attacks ceased, allowing them a moment of reprieve in the midst of turmoil. However, the temporary calm was short-lived. The giant statue, seemingly appeased for the moment, rose from its throne with a deafening roar, its stone face contorted in rage. Jinwoo's heart raced as he realized they needed to fulfill the second commandment, to praise God. A young hunter, a former choir member with a voice that could carry through the darkest of nights, stepped forward, his resolve wavering as he took a deep breath. He hesitated for a moment, then began to sing, his voice trembling but filled with determination, weaving a melody that resonated the haunting atmosphere of the chamber. The haunting notes floated through the air, wrapping around Jinwoo and his companions like a fragile thread of hope. But their hopes were dashed when the statue crushed him in an instant, its stone hand moving with terrifying grace. It became painfully clear that they needed to praise God according to the temple's ancient and specific rules. Not just any song would suffice, but something that adhered to the sacred traditions enshrined within the stone walls. In that moment of despair, Jinwoo's gaze fell upon the statues that held musical instruments, their forms rendered in exquisite detail. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. Those instruments were the key to appeasing the giant. "The instruments," he shouted, his voice ringing out above the chaos that surrounded them. "We need to use them." The surviving hunters surged forward, their hearts pounding in their chests, rushing toward the statues holding the instruments. They grabbed flutes, lyres, and drums, their hands trembling with both fear and a glimmer of hope. As they began to play, the music filled the chamber, weaving around them like an ethereal shroud, a haunting echo that resonated with the very essence of the temple. For a fleeting moment, it seemed to work. The music calmed the giant statue, its fury subsiding as it returned to its throne, the tension in the air dissipating like mist under the morning sun. But Jinwoo's relief was short-lived, as he suddenly found himself exposed, without any protection from the menacing gaze of the giant. The giant's attention shifted back to him, and he felt a surge of adrenaline as he ran, narrowly avoiding the statue's deadly swings. He dashed across the chamber, his heart pounding in his ears, until he spotted a statue holding a book. The intricate details of the book sparkled under the flickering torchlight, and he felt an inexplicable pull toward it. Realizing he might have stumbled onto something crucial, he reached it just as the statue began to sing in a hauntingly beautiful melody. The notes echoed in the chamber, intertwining with the earlier music, creating a harmony that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the temple. Miraculously, the giant returned to its throne once more, seemingly satisfied, if only briefly. But the reprieve was fleeting, a mere illusion in the face of the overwhelming threat they faced. A divination circle rose from the floor, shimmering with an otherworldly light, forming an altar that demanded their attention, its presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Jinwoo's heart sank as he realized the chilling implication. They needed to prove their faith by making a sacrifice. Kim, another hunter, seized the moment, forcing Song, the de facto leader of their party, onto the altar. But when nothing happened, an unsettling silence settled over the group, thick and suffocating. Jinwoo could see the fear etched on Juhi's face, a mixture of anxiety and disbelief, as she glanced between the altar and the hunters around her, her breaths coming in shallow gasps. The tension in the atmosphere grew palpable, each second stretching into an eternity as they awaited a sign, a signal that their actions had not been in vain. In a moment of clarity, Jinwoo, with Juhi's help, inspected the altar more closely, desperation fueling his determination. "Wait," he exclaimed, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "It's not just one person, we all need to be on it." The revelation hung in the air, a desperate hope amidst the despair. They quickly gathered, climbing onto the altar as one unified group, their hearts beating in sync with the rising tension in the chamber. As soon as the last hunter was in place, blue flames erupted from the ground, illuminating the chamber with an eerie glow, casting flickering shadows that danced upon the walls. The doors to the chamber creaked open, revealing the path they had been so desperately seeking, promising escape from the horrors they had just endured. But Jinwoo's heart sank as he realized that the open doors were in fact a trap, a false hope designed to test their faith. "Stay together!" he shouted, urgency lacing his voice as he fought against the rising panic within him. But chaos erupted as one hunter, driven by the primal instinct to survive, bolted for the exit, his mind clouded by fear. The doors closed slightly, as if mocking their desperation, slowly sealing their fate. Another hunter followed suit, and the doors closed further, the unmistakable sound of finality echoing in the chamber, a grim reminder of the consequences of their actions. Jinwoo's pleas fell on deaf ears as Kim, in a moment of betrayal, dashed toward the exit as well, abandoning the group in their time of need, leaving behind a trail of despair that weighed on Jinwoo's heart like a stone. Amidst the turmoil, Song made a heart-wrenching decision. He would sacrifice himself for the others. "You have to go," he urged Jinwoo and Juhee, his voice firm despite the tears brimming in his eyes, a haunting reflection of bravery and desperation. "Get out of here!" Juhee, exhausted from the efforts of healing Jinwoo throughout the ordeal, was paralyzed by fear. She simply couldn't move, her body heavy with fatigue, her mind trapped in a cycle of disbelief. Jinwoo felt the weight of his injuries pressing on him, but he made a choice, a decision fueled by a fierce loyalty to his comrades. "No," he said, determination surging through him like a wildfire. "I can't leave you, I'll stay." As Song and Juhee fled, Jinwoo steeled himself to face the statues alone, the chill of dread washing over him like a wave. He could feel the cold stone gaze of the giant statue upon him, and a wave of dread washed over him as he prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Just as he steeled himself for the fight, a spear, launched from behind, pierced through him, the sharp pain igniting every nerve in his body. He stumbled forward, collapsing to the ground, the life draining from him. The world around him faded as he lay there, helpless, waiting for the final blow that he feared would never come. But just as despair threatened to consume him, a voice echoed in his head, clear and resonant, offering him a chance at redemption. Become a player, it beckoned, and complete a secret quest. Jinwoo's heart raced, a glimmer of hope igniting amidst the darkness of his despair. There was no time to think. He accepted without hesitation, grasping at the possibility of survival, clinging to the fragile thread of hope that had emerged in the chaos. Suddenly, he found himself awakening in a hospital room, the sterile scent of antiseptic filling his nostrils, sharp and jarring against the memories of the temple. He felt strangely restored, his body healed, as if he had emerged from the depths of despair unscathed. Two members of the Korean Hunters Association surveillance team stood over him, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism, a hint of disbelief lingering in the air. They revealed that when they arrived at the temple, the statues and the giant had vanished, leaving only Jinwoo behind, a solitary figure amidst the remnants of chaos. They suspected he had experienced a second awakening, a phenomenon that was rare and often misunderstood. However, a subsequent mana test proved otherwise. His mana levels remained alarmingly low, a fact that left the team puzzled and concerned, their brows furrowed in confusion. After the surveillance team left, a series of messages began appearing before Jinwoo's eyes, glowing in the air like ethereal whispers that beckoned him to listen. One congratulated him on becoming a player, while another announced a daily quest, strength training. He blinked in disbelief, dismissing the messages as mere hallucinations, a trick of his mind after the trauma he had endured. Yet, curiosity gnawed at him, an insistent urge to understand this new reality that had unfolded before him. He decided to humor the absurdity by attempting the push-ups instructed by the quest, his body responding to the challenge despite the lingering fatigue. After completing 100 push-ups, he lay on the floor, panting heavily, convinced that nothing would come of it. The world around him felt muted, as if he had been submerged underwater, the sounds of the hospital fading into an indistinct hum. But as he rested, the nagging disbelief of his reality lingered, Perhaps this was all a figment of his imagination, a cruel joke played by his mind. The sterile environment felt foreign, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental had shifted within him. That night, as fatigue overtook him, Jinwoo failed to complete the daily quest, a consequence that triggered a penalty. In an instant, he was transported to a vast desert, the relentless sun beating down upon him, its rays harsh and unforgiving. The air was dry and heavy, and he felt a sense of foreboding wash over him as a giant centipede and several other monstrous creatures emerged from the shifting sands. The very ground trembled beneath him, and panic surged through his veins, a primal instinct screaming at him to run. The oppressive heat bore down on him, and the taste of sand filled his mouth as he fought with every ounce of strength he had, his heart racing as he faced the relentless onslaught of the creatures, surviving for 4 long hours against their horrifying attacks. When he finally returned to his hospital room, he collapsed on the floor, exhausted and covered in sand, every fiber of his being screaming in protest. The harsh fluorescent lights of the hospital flickered ominously as he lay there, a broken shell of the person he once was, his heart heavy with the weight of his experiences. He received a notification that he had completed the penalty quest, but the victory felt hollow, a bittersweet reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. The sound of the notifications echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the new reality he found himself trapped in. The next morning, a nurse found Jinwoo collapsed on the floor, his body still covered in sand, a sight that sent her rushing to his side, her heart racing with concern. Alarmed, she called for the doctor, who examined him thoroughly but found nothing physically wrong. "You're fine," the doctor said, his voice laced with concern, attempting to reassure the nurse as he studied the young hunter. "There are no signs of injury." As the nurse began to clean up the mess around him, she noticed a small amount of blood on Jinwoo's hand, a stark contrast against the pale skin. Her heart raced as she searched for wounds, but there were none to be found, the mystery deepening as she wondered about the strange occurrences surrounding the young hunter. Jinwoo, meanwhile, lay in a haze of confusion, fragments of his experiences swirling in his mind like a tempest. He was left to grapple with the reality of his situation, the newfound powers that came with being a player, and the darkness that loomed ever closer, threatening to engulf him. Each day brought new challenges, new quests, and an ever-deepening mystery that he could not ignore. In the depths of his struggles, he began to realize that his life had changed irrevocably. As he fought to navigate this new world, he found a flicker of hope igniting within him, a hope that perhaps he could rise from the shadows and forge his own destiny, no longer defined by the weaknesses of the past, but empowered by the trials he had faced. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, Jinwoo's resolve grew stronger. The memories of his mother, the hospital bills, and the weight of his failures became a driving force behind his determination. He would not be the weak hunter everyone had come to know. He would train, he would improve, and he would uncover the mysteries of the double dungeon that had changed his life forever. The echoes of his past weighed heavily on him, but they also fueled his determination, propelling him toward a future where he could redefine himself, reclaiming his identity as a hunter, a force to be reckoned with in a world filled with danger and uncertainty. Every day, he immersed himself in intense training, pushing his limits far beyond what he thought possible. The pain of exhaustion became a familiar companion, but with each drop of sweat, he felt himself growing stronger, more resilient. The notifications that had once felt like a burden now served as a guide, leading him toward quests that would sharpen his skills and enhance his abilities. He embraced the challenges with a newfound fervor, realizing that each quest was not merely a task, but an opportunity to carve out his identity as a hunter in a world that had once overlooked him. The hospital room transformed into a sanctuary of determination. The sterile walls faded into the background as Jinwoo envisioned himself in the field, facing the monsters that had haunted his nightmares. He could almost hear the adrenaline-fueled shouts of his fellow hunters, feel the rush of wind against his skin as he dodged deadly attacks. The vivid imagery fueled his training, each repetition of push-ups and squats, punctuated by the sounds of clashing steel, and the scent of adventure that beckoned just beyond the horizon. As he delved deeper into his training, he began to notice subtle changes in his body. His muscles grew leaner, more defined, and his reflexes sharpened, responding to stimuli in a way that was almost instinctual. The once distant concept of strength training transformed into a tangible reality, and as he completed each daily quest, he felt a sense of accomplishment that he had never known before. The echoes of his past failures began to fade, replaced by the resounding triumphs of his newfound abilities. The hospital room, once a prison of despair, became a crucible where he could hone his skills and prepare for the trials that awaited him outside. One day, as he completed another set of push-ups, a notification flickered into existence before him, breaking the monotony of his routine. "Congratulations! You have reached level 2. New skills unlocked." The words glowed with an otherworldly shimmer, igniting a spark of excitement within him. As he read through the skills available to him, Jinwoo felt a surge of hope. The possibilities unfurled before him like a tapestry woven with potential, promising a brighter future as he embraced the role of a player. Among the skills unlocked was enhanced agility, a gift that would allow him to move with swiftness and grace, evading attacks with newfound finesse. There was also mana channeling, a skill that would enable him to tap into the latent power within him, allowing him to harness mana in ways he had never imagined. The thrill of discovery electrified him, and as he selected the skills he wanted to learn, he felt a sense of anticipation building within him. This was the turning point he had been waiting for. With the newfound skills coursing through him, Jinwoo launched into training with fervor. He practiced his agility, weaving through the tight confines of the hospital room, envisioning himself dodging attacks from fearsome monsters. The once stifling walls transformed into an arena of possibility, each movement a testament to the progress he was making. He could almost feel the air crackle with energy as he engaged in his training, each leap and roll imbued with purpose. As days turned into nights, he felt the relentless passage of time fueling his transformation. He became more attuned to the energy around him, sensing the ebb and flow of mana coursing through his veins like a river of possibilities. The hospital room became a sanctuary where he could experiment with his abilities, testing the limits of his newfound skills. He could feel the power within him growing, a dormant force awakening to the call of adventure that lay just beyond the hospital's doors. Finally, the day came when he received another notification, one that set his heart racing with excitement. "New quest available. Exit the hospital." The words gleamed in front of him like a beacon of hope, igniting a fire within his chest. He had prepared for this moment, the culmination of his training, and the promise of freedom beckoning him forward. He stood up, his heart pounding with anticipation, ready to step into the world that awaited him. With determination fueling every step, he made his way to the door. As he pushed it open, a rush of fresh air enveloped him, invigorating his senses. The vibrant sounds of the bustling streets outside filled his ears, each note a reminder of the life that continued beyond the confines of the hospital. The sunlight spilled in, warming his skin, and he took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of possibility and adventure. As he stepped outside, he was greeted by the sights and sounds of the city, a world alive with energy. The streets were filled with fellow hunters, each of them brimming with purpose as they prepared for their own quests. Jinwoo could feel the pulse of their ambitions, the shared dreams of glory and honor that filled the air. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of belonging, a connection to something greater than himself. With renewed resolve, Jinwoo set out on his journey, ready to carve his own path in the world of hunters. The shadows of his past would no longer define him. Instead, they would serve as a reminder of the strength he had found within himself. He embraced the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that each quest would bring him closer to the hunter he was destined to become. As he ventured forth, the weight of his responsibilities transformed into a source of motivation, propelling him forward into the unknown with unwavering determination. The world was vast, filled with dungeons waiting to be explored, monsters to be defeated, and allies to be made. Jinwoo's heart raced with excitement at the thought of the adventures that awaited him. He was no longer the weakest hunter in Korea. He was a player, and he would prove to everyone, including himself, that he was capable of greatness. The journey had just begun, and with each step, he felt the fire of ambition igniting within him, a flame that would guide him through the trials and tribulations of the world that lay before him.